Welcome to the Exposed Street Podcast with Jerry Binney. In this episode, I'm going to go over how I would train a large group of kids, 20 plus, 30 plus, maybe even 40 kids at once. I got this question through email from Joey Fredrickson, and so just gave us some content to put out there so that we can hopefully help those of you that do train large crowds. Maybe you're a high school strength coach or you're just a strength coach in the gym with multiple athletes at one time. Sometimes I have 33, 35 kids in the gym at one time. And so this question hopefully will help Joey and some of you figure things out. Hello, Jared. I first want to thank you for providing all the free content for your podcast and YouTube. I've been following along for quite some time now and used your methods when I train my baseball athletes, and we've gotten great results. My questions are, I have recently partnered with a local high school to train their baseball and softball team 3 days a week. Well, that's good. During those times, I have upwards to 40 athletes in the gym at once. I want to incorporate dumbbell jumps and have a plan of doing the jumps while they are squatting. What are your thoughts on jumping while they're squatting? Well, Joey, I think it's a great idea if you get them to push the effort between their squats. Years ago, we would come in, the first thing we would do is we would dumbbell jump. We'd have everybody dumbbell jump, then we'd move, then we'd squat. And back in the day, in between our squats, we were doing depth jumps, but we'd only do 2 depth jumps in between our squat. But we didn't, for our dumbbell jumps, I'm going to do a podcast later. I just took a trip to Westside a couple months ago and told Louis we don't measure the volume of our jumps. Volume will self-regulate over time instead of trying to be an over concern. Oh, I did 10 jumps, I didn't break it, or this or that. So we'd spend a lot of time just doing our dumbbell jumps. Then we'd go to our squat, and in between our squats, we would do 2 depth jumps in between each set of squats. So someone may have 4 sets of squats. They're going to do a total of 8 jumps a day. If they had 5 sets of squats, they would do 10 jumps that day. Sorry, I'm thinking my ears are not working right. But so jumping with the dumbbells, now I would jump with the weight only in between our squats. So like typically we will come in the gym. Right now we have how I've changed it throughout the years is when we come in the gym, first thing we do is we squat first. After we squat, then all the athletes go to their dumbbell jumps and work on their dumbbell jumps until they break their record. Sometimes over their 20 minutes, sometimes over 30 minutes. Because for most of the time, I like to regulate how long we rest between our squats. Typically, I like 5 minutes between squat sets. We don't do our depth jumps. We just don't have enough mats to go around with. I've got 9 squat stations, and I don't have enough mats to put beside each station. And sometimes I just got too many people in there to really focus on that. Sometimes I've got it to where I've got half the gym squatting some days and half the gym benching, and it's just a mess. And if I can just get the results with the dumbbell jumps, we just do the dumbbell jumps. But I think doing the depth jumps is a great idea. I do have some athletes, I do program depth jumps instead of in between our squats, I do program it as an accessory. So I think jumping between squats is a great idea. I would just do the dumbbell and focus on the dumbbells only instead of worrying about jumping with and without weight. The heavier load's your heavy light method could be your squat bar, and the light method could be the lighter dumbbell loads. That way it saves you time and not have to worry about. But I would only do 2 dumbbell jumps between each set of squat, but I would not rush this. I would not rush the dumbbell jump. So I would get up from my squat. I'd grab my weight. After my last rep or whatever, I'd rest about a minute. I'd go grab a weight. Boom! I'd pop out a jump. I'd read my number. I'd set the weight down. I'd shake my hands and kind of reset my nervous system. Get back on the mat, boom, jump another one, and I just write down my best jump between set squat. At the end of the day, I'd circle my best dumbbell jump, and the next time I came in to squat, say I jumped a 27.1 with 30s, I've got to beat that. And so they may come in the next time and jump a 27.5 on the first one, who knows where they're at, but the idea is grab your best from that day, whether if you did 8 jumps or if you did 10 jumps, and just don't let them keep jumping. So they only get 2 shots between each set of squat. And so I would make sure you rested them at least 4 to 5 minutes, because you're going to go from squat to jump. They're going to have adequate rest after they jump. So I'd probably rest 5 minutes after each set of squats. So boom, group 1, they finish, they go jump. Then after they get done jumping, they still got about a 4-minute rest break. So a total of 5 or 4, however you want to count it, is how I would do that. Then I'd move on to your accessories. And so if you just did the loaded jumps, remember, A lot of people, a lot of these jump programs, a lot of these fitness crap things you see on Instagram, oh, let's jump on this spot, oh, let's switch this foot, let's do all this other horse stuff. It looks cool, but if you really break it down, they're never extending the hip, they're never extending the knee, and they're never extending the ankle. They're never getting full extension to get the full benefit of the explosiveness. Explosive is dynamic effort. If you're jumping in the air and your hips are bent, you're not getting full hip extension. So you are not actually being dynamic at all. You're being controlled, and controlled is not explosive. You ever seen a controlled bomb? That shit blows up and everything else takes. So I would just do my dumbbell jumps. Remember, the weighted jumps are the most important thing. You don't come in and do weighted jumps one day, box jumps the next day, and broad jumps the next. You pick an exercise. You pick the one thing, like that book says. You pick the one thing and you drive it up. Once you have put that in your basket, you've marked that off your shopping list, your athletic recipe or whatever it is, then you have earned the right to do various jumping exercises. But the reason the weight is so important, jumping with weight, it's just like benching with weight. You're not going to improve your bench press if you don't add weight to the bar. You're not going to improve your squat unless you add weight to the bar. You're not going to improve your jump unless you add some type of external stimulus to the jump. You know, it's just kind of like, but sometimes these people jumping with the trap bars, the load's too heavy. And never perform a depth jump with a load. If you want to increase your depth jump, you increase the height of the box instead of the external resistance. So remember, in the kinetic energy formula, velocity is more important than mass. So that's why you increase the height of the box instead of the external load. So you don't want to see someone with a bar on their back do a depth jump and jump back up. That's horrible. Could really blow out their spine. So jumping between squats, Joey, excellent idea. Do it loaded only. Don't worry about the without weight. If you want to test the without weight, just save that to the end of the month, like I do, how I do my test week. We test at the end of the month. I've got athletes that jump with weights only. I've got athletes that jump with and without weights. The people that jump with and without, they just like to try to chase that 40, 36, 38, wherever that vertical number is. But they soon realize once they start focusing on that loaded jump, it's just like loading the bench, loading the squat. Once you load it, it starts to improve quicker. So once you load your jumps, you get your external resistance, your body's nervous system, like, holy shit, what's going on here? You know, impulse is changing momentum. So you get enough load, go down, boom, try to change and reverse that weight out of the bottom as possible. And hopefully we can do some YouTube videos later on of jump technique. But I did have a question come in, or someone say, hey, Jared, can you do a video on your 45 hyper back extensions? Yeah, so if y'all would, just go to YouTube, click subscribe. We're actually going to do another video today. We're actually going to do a video today. I spoke yesterday. I'm going to try to do podcasts more frequently of how we do our tricep press downs and how to get the medial head to fire when you do your tricep press downs so that you can get better bench press results from your tricep press downs. And a lot of times we do stuff at the gym. We try to improve A with B. So it's like if we can improve our tricep press downs, it would directly help our bench press. Or if we can improve our 45 hyper extensions, it will directly improve our broad jump. So, you know, you can get your broad jump and improve it without necessarily broad jumping, but just by strengthening the right muscle groups in order to perform that movement. So broad jump's very, very much hip extension. And so we need to strengthen the hip extensors, which are your glutes and your hamstrings. And so hopefully with that 45 hyper video, we can see that. Just like for how we improve stuff without doing it, we don't run at the gym. We squat and we jump. If our jumps improve, more likely our running's going to improve at the end of each month when we measure our 40s. So let's see where we are. What are your thoughts on jumping while you squat? Excellent. Also, our dynamic effort days, I have a plan of using 75 to 85% wave. How would you handle dynamic effort days with such a large group? Joey, if you want to call that dynamic effort day, that's fine. But you got to think dynamic effort is from your jumps. You don't conjugated training and how it's been popularized through a lot of people. You don't have to have a day dedicated to, like Louis done, dedicated to speed work. You don't have to have a day dedicated to maximum effort work. You're dealing with high school kids. They're very young in their training years. They don't even know how to tap into their nervous system to get all the motor neurons to fire at optimal discharge frequency in order to, if you get me to do a set of 20 on squats, after I'll be on the floor laying there for a little bit trying to recover because I know how to call a lot more of my muscular and your muscular system to work simultaneously and that's why I'm stronger. But if you get like a young kid, they do 20 reps of squats and they wonder what the hell's going on next. What are we going to do? Hey, let's do this. Hey, Jerry, can we run between our squats? Like, who the hell thinks like that? So by you doing dumbbell jumps, by you doing some type of explosive movement, that explosive is dynamic. So you take care of your dynamic effort work with the dumbbell jumps. You don't have to have a day dedicated to dynamic effort work. But if you want to have technically a lighter day with the 75 to 80, 85% waves, that's fine. I would go heavy, wave, if you're depending on how many days a week you're going to squat them. And I don't know if you have help or not. And to make things roll smoother for you, if you've got upwards to 40 athletes in the gym and you have a partner with you that's there, take 20 of them and they do upper, and take the other 20 and they do lower. And so the next time they come in, that 20 lower may do lower Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The next week they may do lower Tuesday, Thursday. Or if you just only have them 3 days a week, you need to try to bench them and squat them, and have half of them do. I would start half of them up on upper body and the other half on lower body, and halfway through I'd flip them. That way you don't bog down. I don't know what your situation is, but if you want to email me after you listen to this podcast and you want to talk, we can talk about your situation and how you can handle different things like that. But like how I do it at the gym, I have people. The gym can be so busy sometimes. I've got 33 to 35 people there per hour, and so I have some of them dedicated to doing lower body on today's Monday. So we're going to come in. Today's primarily a bench day at the gym. But I have a group of kids that are dedicated enough that I don't have to babysit. I call them opposite day guys. So they're going to come up. They're going to come in. Today's actually going to be their squat day. And then I've got people that don't come in that frequently, and they're going to have what you call a combo day. So you're going to have people there that's going to do a full upper. You got people there that's going to do a full lower, and you got people there at the gym today that's going to do a mixture of upper and lower, just depending on how many times a week or what the training frequency is at the gym. So how would I incorporate dynamic effort into? I would just treat it like my regular squat. I wouldn't worry about my rest breaks. I would still probably have extended rest breaks. And if you wanted a couple, because that 75, 80, 85% is heavy enough to where you can still do dumbbell jumps in between that dynamic effort work, because you're at 70 to 80, 85%, you're still going to be moving at 70%, 75%, you'll probably be a 0.7, 80%, you'll be probably moving a 0.6, 85%, you're probably going to be moving right around a 5.3, 5.7 range. So that would be brief maximal tension, and that's certainly not dynamic effort. Your dynamic effort is going to come from your dumbbell jumps. And so how I'd handle dumbbell jumps, I wouldn't even worry about splitting my days up, dynamic effort, maximum. If you wanted to weigh 75 Monday, 80 Wednesday, 85 Friday, and then come back the next week, if you're recording their bar speeds, try to beat them. Or if you wanted to bump it up 2%, the next week you can do 77%, 82%, 87%. The next week you come in and you do say 80, 85, then 90% for that week. And then that's your 3 weeks. And then the last week of the month you test. And if you want to retest their strength, if you actually want to test their squat strength on the last week of every month, then you could reset and do that again. So that fourth week, you test their 40s, you test their verticals, you test their squat, and then you can reset their percentages and keep rolling like that over and over again. That would probably be the best way to set that up. Instead of having a maximum effort day, you're lifting at loads 80 to 85% as the minimum required to get stronger. 75% the first week starts these athletes all for the good acclimation phase. So that Wednesday do 80%, that Friday do 85%, the next Monday they come in do 77%, so it allows them to go up, down, up, test, reset next month, and you've got a perfect plan to go over and over again. So what are your thoughts on having your teams do sumo deadlifts as well? Well, that's fine. The reason behind the sumo deadlift is to help develop more hip, glute, and lower back strength. The sumo is good because it does take more stress off of the lower back. I don't know how much more direct strength it gets from it because you're not using as much. But I do think it's a good way to strengthen your spinal erectors and their obliques. You don't have to do these crazy side bend twist, kind of crazy sit-up things, because they're getting a lot of that. When you deadlift, whether it's sumo, conventional, the first things to fire are your obliques, so your stabilizers on the side. Boom, your spinal erectors get to work. Yes, your hips and your hamstrings. So I would come in, I would squat, I would jump, for your situation, I would do my dumbbell jumps between my squat sets. Then I'd move on to sumo deadlifts, and then I'll just play around with different various accessories. Then you can switch up the accessories more and more often. So anyway, I want to try to keep some of these podcasts short to get this information out there, try to answer these questions as they come in. Remember, go to YouTube. The best way, if you like when people comment on the YouTube, it gets in my email and I see it immediately versus sometimes I've been holding on to some of these emails just now instead of doing a long podcast episode when they come in, boom, get up here, answer them, get them out. Hopefully it helps you. Hopefully it helps anybody else out there that's listening. So Joey, that's how I would set it up. If you have any questions or if I didn't cover some specifics that you'd like to know, feel free to give me a call or you can email me again and have them labeled out questions and I can just do another podcast and maybe we can help some people together. So follow me on Instagram, Explosive Mechanics, YouTube, Explosive Mechanics, Twitter, Explosive NBC. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening and have a great day.